I held two undercover, I assume Los Angeles police guys at bay with my shotgun hanging from the cliff off of my A-frame, telling them that I would kill them.
Wait, what?
Right at that time is where the divide, in particular, between me and Larry and Brian really took hold. That their outing of themselves as real conservatives. Russ was always anti-Semitic. Larry couldn't make up his mind which side of the racial barrel he wanted to be on. One day he'd be a Mexican, the next day he'd be a black guy, the next day he'd be a plantation owner.
Welcome to Discograffiti, the podcast that gives Gen X music maniacs a chance to smell like teen spirit again by connecting with a brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and with 3 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on The Association, along with our very special guests, the 2 founders of possibly the greatest soft pop act of all time, purveyors of such fine hits as Along Comes Mary, Cherish, Windy, and Never My Love, Terry Kirkman and Jules Alexander from The Association, in a 5-part series called From an Unprecedented 13-Hour Interview. This is part 3 of the interview. In the next 2 hours and change, we tackled Terry's unfortunate first experiences with heroin, the overdose death of original bassist Brian Cole, and how many stars out of 5 Terry and Jules give 1968's Birthday, 1969's The Goodbye Columbus original soundtrack, and 1969's self-titled The Association. Coming up, we've got Bob Nastanovich, Deer Tick, Corey Hansen from Wand rating his own discography, and Mike Watt rating the entirety of the Minutemen's output. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. And away we go then with Terry Kirkman and Jules Alexander as we ascend the marshmallowy, pillow-soft contours of Mount Association. A vocal blend so magical, they seem to exist in harmony with the winds that blew through the LA canyons, turned a 6- and 7-man mind cocoon, ruptured by personalities bursting through, fully formed from a shared bedrock of self-effacing anonymity. What does it say under silently?
Under what?
Your shirt. Silently judging.
Silently judging
what?
You.
I love it. I could only see silently.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I got it at a feminist bookstore. I said, oh, okay. That's
that
good.
is awesome. It immediately made me think of On a Quiet Night because that's the refrain. Silently
yeah.
judging you. I make my own shirts that are kind of offensive, like rectal cancer is the shit. And when life gives you AIDS, you make lemonades.
Oh, Jesus. That's bad.
But I had one that I bought. I had it shipped to me. I did not unpack it. I was waiting for my wife to get into a fight with me. And then when she did, instead of saying anything, I just opened up the shrink wrap, put on the shirt, and she looked at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? It says, my wife is being an unrelenting pain in the ass, and I'm not taking off this t-shirt until she apologizes.
Jesus Christ.
I'm still married. All right, let's just dive right in, shall we?
Terry, I can't hear you. Are you talking or are you just chewing?
I'm chewing.
Okay, I saw your mouth moving. I thought, oh, okay.
I'm not chewing, I'm chewing.
Chewing. Oh, God. Fucking wordsmiths. Jesus.
That's a crossword puzzle joke.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you again for your time. I don't know about you guys, but I am enjoying the shit out of this, and I'm not ever wanting it to finish, but at the same time, I'm driving it forward out of respect for you guys. Yeah.
Jules and I are going to record after this is over. We're going to put out a special recording of What I Did for Dave.
I love that. I would be so honored if you could do something like that.
What I did for Dave, what I did for Dave.
Now, is this one of your unreleased masterworks from the last 50 years that's sitting in the vaults?
Take mine.
All right, let's get started here. So after Inside Out, your next step here was 1968's Birthday, which was recorded from September 12th, 67 to February 23rd, 68, and it wound up at number 23. There's a very, very soft spot in my heart for Birthday. I've heard things from within the association camp where certain members, I think, felt it was perhaps too vaporous in its production. I love that aspect of it, but I can understand how that could be off-putting for any one of you. You have the 2 hit singles, Everything That Touches You, which was your final top 10 hit at number 10, and Time for Living, which hit 39. It was your last album that spawned top 40 hits and came out in March 68. Inside Out was farming out to the Idrisi brothers and other people. This returns the focus to just you guys with a couple exceptions. And then, of course, the Jimmy Webb thing wound up being the possible left turn that was not. Do you guys want to tell this story about what happened with Bones offering the Jimmy Webb composition for the record?
Were you there at that session, Terry?
I sure was.
Yeah, I wasn't, so Terry can tell you.
You're not in there yet.
Yeah, I'm listening here.
Yeah.
I have been in the face of Bones, Jimmy Webb, and what's his name that sang?
Richard Harris?
What?
Richard Harris?
Yes. Not a guy you want to get in the face of, but I did. At Pink's Hot Dogs. He had just been on the air that morning telling the story that we had turned it down, which is not what happened at all. We did not reject the song. We rejected Bones. We were maybe 3 days from finishing the album and had to be on tour once again.
Let me give context for 1 second, because not a lot of people know. You were offered MacArthur Park, but the caveat to do MacArthur Park was you had to do this whole almost 25-minute sidelong cantata, which, by the way, is kind of a cool idea potentially. However, you guys are an embarrassment of talented songwriters. I mean, you got talent dripping out of you guys. There's no reason to give away an entire album side to an unknown songwriter, no matter how good the song is.
Well, there would be that too. But that, again, is beside the point. I, for one, in our sessions together talking about these albums, have explained to you how incredibly exhausted we were when we got through with one. We're talking about 14, 16-hour days in the studio for 40 days. Well, let's say for 20 days, okay? Everything is being invented, and most of the invention is actually going on inside the studio. So we're at the end of a full day of vocals, and Bones brings Jimmy in and sits Jimmy down at the Steinway piano that everybody wanted to buy. It's the piano that you hear on 1,000 hits.
Steinway B.
Yeah, and he plays this thing. Nothing said earlier in the day, nothing said the day before, no mention of this song and what it's about or anything, or Jimmy Webb, or boy, have I got a surprise for you, or let's see if I can get Warner Brothers to give us another, but you can't cancel your tour. Let's figure out how we would do it. Maybe we could delay the... None of the logistical stuff that would be discussed if, indeed, one were to have a big change of mind about what you wanted the album to be. Alcivar's just ripped his ass off.
Do you remember liking the song, or was that just beside the point?
It was beside the point.
Yeah. I mean, you guys made an amazing record, so I don't think...
Hold on. Before you go back to those assertions, we're exhausted, and we don't know what the hell's going on. That's all anybody needs to know about this. We're about 3 days from wrapping this up and having to pack our bags one more and hope that you have a day off in the first week so you can finally sleep. That's all I'm thinking about.
Are you hating this process now at this point, or are you getting there?
Me talking to you right now?
No. No, I know you're deeply in love with this process. I'm talking about being in the association in 1968.
No, let's just boil this down to the night. Forget everything else.
Okay.
It is the association. We're just finishing an album. I'm curiously really excited about Alcivar's work because we're all hearing it for the first time. We didn't rehearse it. We're hearing ourselves in this effort for the first time. I don't know the songs we just sang. Those are pretty complex songs. I'm thrilled by how Everything That Touches You has gone. Does this have the bus song, or was that on?
It does.
On
yes, it does.
Inside Out?
It does.
I hate the bus song.
I hate the bus song too.
I love the barbershop quartet in the middle. That just knocked it right out of the ballpark.
Yeah, that is awesome.
It's 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and here's fucking Jimmy Webb, who we all really appreciate, sitting down at the piano. We're all asleep on our feet, and he plays this song for us. And Bones says, "What do you think?" We put it on the album. I said, "We have 4 days. What are you talking about? All of us." "Gosh, Bones, I don't think so." And that was it.
Oh, okay. That was the length of the conversation.
That's the whole thing. No one said that they disliked the song.
Okay.
It was a whole new concept. It was the kind of concept you would give a week or a month to.
Right.
To contemplate what you were going to do with it. Pat would probably have to have a conference with Warner Brothers, knowing that Warner Brothers didn't want any switch-ups from us. So we're in one of those places where I don't know what you're thinking about, but wrong time, wrong place. Sorry, I got to go to sleep. I thought, well, that was awkward. What the fuck was that about? I thought to myself. I really did. I got up the next morning and I said to Judith, my wife at the time, I said, like I dreamt it.
Yeah.
I dreamt at the end of our thing that Jimmy Webb came in and played this whole concerto for us,
The story feels like it's been recontextualized so that...
Instantly.
Right.
Bones took a lot of heat for the album. Bones took a lot of heat for $60,000 worth of mixing on the back of that album. That was our whole budget. $60,000 was a lot of money at that time.
At least it's on the album. You can hear money.
Yes. And I was really disappointed.
You guys are partial to John Boylan. And I got to say, for the first time, I disagree with you guys. I think Bones, not just Bones, but people created this magical sonic kingdom for your songs to live perennially in this gorgeous, echo-drenched, that's what I like. And then Boylan made it sound like it's dry, it's in the same room. I think you guys are maybe trying to get away from the...
We're not in the same room at all.
Right,
not
right.
At all. We're out of Studio 3 almost forever at the end of that. The audience never knows what was intended.
Mm-hmm.
We had a joke, a running gag in the association about liner notes that say, and then we had Jimmy Esters along the way. Now, imagine strings on this. Imagine that you're hearing more like violas than violins. That's kind of liner notes. It's like, see, we didn't do that. So the audience only knows what you gave them. Period. Anytime. In a movie, in a song, I enter a room and I'm wearing my dog t-shirt, and all you know is that a really big guy, weird-looking guy, limping with a cane or a walker, walked through the room with a dog t-shirt on. I mean, it's very Rashomon. You only see what you get. That's the beauty in advertising. That's the beauty in all of art.
Which is precisely why I don't want to spend too much time on the Jimmy Webb thing, because to me, that's a footnote. That's not indicative of what was happening around the corner or anything like that.
About 2 years later, Look magazine had a really interesting feature in which it was the sound makers, and it was a whole fascinating setup for putting this article in thing. That it would be like Phil Spector, and then Phil Spector would have about 18 column inches. I was a journalism major, so this is like 18 column inches in which he tells his story about the people that he's produced. And then you would have this person, and then you have Bones Howe, who had the Mamas and the Papas. He had Fifth Dimension. He had all these other things. He's known for being a California sound maker. He devotes his entire opportunity in Look magazine to only tell the wrong side of the story about the Jimmy Webb song. The entire 18 inches is devoted to "They Fucked Me Over."
Oh, wow.
Think of what that would have been like. They turned me down. They disrespected Jimmy. They had no idea what, on and on and on.
You guys got along with him when you were making Birthday, right?
Everything was fine.
Yeah.
My whole thing was that Bones had to take some shots from Warner Brothers on the backside of that album. We weren't happy. I wasn't happy.
About the record or about
the mix on the record? I know that the audience loved it. But that wasn't the love that I had for it. That was not the album that, unless I don't know what kind of sound system you would have had, but people walked into that room and started crying when they heard playbacks. And I'm not talking about on big speakers. I'm just talking about regular playbacks.
This is an emotional record for me, too.
Well, it was emotional for the audience, but for the people who were involved in making it, I have an idea for my kitchen, and I finish it, and I go, holy shit. That paint got absorbed into that drywall so deeply that it doesn't resemble the paint that I bought in the store. And I can't believe that that turned out that way. And you walk in and you say, what a great fucking kitchen.
Look, Birthday had to have been good because you seduced Jules back into the band.
He's easy. He's so easy.
Right, listen.
Give me a veggie burger. I'll be okay.
All right, let's drop the needle on this thing and talk about it because I'm really dying to talk about the music on this. First off, side one, to me, could be the apotheosis of the association. It's almost emotionally too much. Every single song on side one, to me, is a masterwork. Hey lads and ladies, Dave Gebroe here. I abandoned my career and moved my family 3,000 miles to be able to focus exclusively on Discograffiti. And so if you're like me and enough is just never enough, then please visit patreon.com/discograffiti and become one of our Patreon soldiers of sound. Discograffiti is an entirely listener-supported show, and it's also intended to be a 3 times a week music deep dive experience. So do us both a favor and consider giving it a shot. Trust me, I'm working hard for the money, so hard for it, honey. There's the main show on Friday, a Monday wildcard episode, which is either a soul-bearing interview with that week's special guest, or an offshoot show like Queasy Listening and Rock Cousteau. And then on Wednesdays, there's the humdinger of them all. Discograffiti's the top 10. You got nothing to lose. If you don't dig it after a month, you're refunded. No questions asked. Once again, that's patreon.com/discograffiti. We start with Come On In with a great vocal with you and Russ, a real kickin', driving opener. Obviously, you were thinking about how to burst into the fabric of the record with true momentum. And even though it's a rocker, it doesn't sacrifice any of the billowing background harmonies. In fact, they pretty much carry the entire song right along with Ted's relentless backbeat. From there, one of the greatest songs of all time with the fayest, most limp-wristed song title I've ever heard in my entire life. And I use it as a case study in, you got to check out this song title. And everyone always laughs because it is so unmasculine. It's like the opposite of all the, cock-grabbing British blues bands that were playing searing acid rock. And that's what I love about it. Rose Petals, Incense, and a Kitten is produced by 6 guys who are totally comfortable in their masculinity. And that song, I wouldn't even call it a song. I would call it a mood. If I want to get in that mood, I would only put on this song. It should have been a huge hit. So gentle, so supple, and that lead vocal. I think this is unquestionably Jim Yester's best song with the Association. I love it. I mean, and I'm going to be heckling the shit out of you to play it next month.
Yeah, we'd have to learn it again.
And then, like always, I believe this is Ramos's first stab at a tune on an Association record. So good and really busy too. I love that song. And the harmonies, once they take over in that middle 8, it sounds like animals in a jungle gym. It's just batshit crazy. You guys have harmony flow like rappers. The vocal arrangements are wildly inventive and, like always, is a great underheralded classic from you guys. Then Terry, Everything That Touches You, it's like the serpent, the Kundalini serpent that shoots up your back into
the back crawler, right? Yeah,
that's what I feel like when I hear this song, is especially when you guys start in with that round on love, 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 love. It feels genuine and it feels truly, truly beautiful. Not a guy who's playing at Living Through the 60s, but for at least that moment has put his finger on the pulse of true cosmic empathy and love. Was that a songwriting assignment, or were you really just feeling that?
Both.
Yeah.
Jules played on the demo of Everything That Touches You, and it had its own magic from the gate. And I had a deal. I would write sitting on a plane, sitting on a bus, very much like my days are now. what do? I sit. But we had purpose at the end of this. Hopefully you would make it safely to the end of the journey you were on at the time, and then you get up. But that's when I would be my least ADD. I'd be my least ADD because I was confined, and I would have the hum of the motor, and my least manic, and then my head would start to cook. Music would enter my head, and I always had a concerto that became Sketches of Spain. It was like a would be some configuration of that, and then music would start to flow, but I would just start to write snippets of lyric ideas. Poems, right, with nothing complete, and I would stuff them. I had this canvas bag that I carried, and I would stuff them in there, and then when I got home, I would empty that canvas bag out, and sort of like Emily Dickinson writing things on butcher wrap, I'd have barf bags and ticket stubs and magazine rip-outs and everything, anything to write something down before I forgot it. So we're getting ready for a birthday. We have no idea what we're going to do. And Judith and I, we had a very large Mexican-made library table, huge thing. And I dumped everything out of the bag, and then I was sorting through, and I would sort it up into protest, spiritual, in love, out of love, something else. I would just break up the themes, and then I was realizing that I was the sole writer, okay? So these weren't ideas being exact. And I would revisit the same shit over and over and over and over and over again, different views, different poetic license. And Jeffrey Commodore, you know who Jeffrey Commodore is?
That's the writer of Toymaker, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Toymaker. I had taken on, and he considered me sort of a mentor, and I brought him out from New York. He wanted to live, and so he was living in our Cherimoya apartment. And Jeffrey was just leaning on my shoulder. I showed him the piles that I made, the 2 or 3 piles, and he said, what if you took this and put it over here with that? Because I wasn't receiving anything. And I went, oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. And then he walked off, and that was it. Had this idea for the song. I had the I had that for my piano. We go into Sunwest Studios, and Jules is on guitar. I do not remember who was on piano. And Randy Sherling was on bass. Maybe Keltner on drums.
It's Hal Blaine.
No, it's Hal on that one? Okay.
Yeah. This is a demo session.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, all right, yeah.
And so Randy Sherling leans up and says, can I try something? And I said, what do you have in mind? He says, let me have the instrumental opener. Let me have that lick.
Yeah.
So it's discussed. I'm in the booth, and he thinks about it for a little bit, and then he looks at it and says, okay, 1, 2, 1. Like this, and everybody just went, whoa! And it launched the song in the direction it wanted to go. Brian Wilson, for example, would spend weeks looking for something like that because he wasn't getting what he imagined should be there. Yeah, he'd drive everybody nuts. But
hey, Terry, do you have a copy of that demo by any chance?
I sure wish I did.
Okay, that's what I thought. Never mind.
I sure wish I did. I may have thrown that away as an acetate when we moved from the house I was in when I left the association and moved to Park La Brea. I threw away about 15, 20 acetates.
I've done the same, made that same mistake with tapes.
Yeah, $2,000 a piece is what they go for.
Well, it's not even the value.
Yeah.
Toymaker is an exceptional track, too. That finishes out the record.
I don't remember Toymaker ever being introduced to the group at all. So it's all of a sudden, whoa, it's this song.
It fits perfectly, especially thematically. It's birthday morning, Toymaker. It really feels like it was very well thought through. Terry, do you have any recollection about Rose Petals, Incense, and a Kitten?
I was surprised by it. It was a really delicate song.
Yeah.
Artistically, it's dangerous.
Why do you think?
It'd be dangerous for anybody that would be perceived of as a rock group.
Right.
You could have a field day with that harmonically. I mean, you could play with that song on a chorale basis forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like counterpuntal stuff. Delicious melodically, and I never got into it.
Oh, man, I could listen to a 2-hour version of that, and it still wouldn't be enough.
Well, we could arrange that.
Yeah, we can do it. Break out your checkbook.
Oh, you guys are going to charge me?
No. Fuck Dave. I do that for you.
I'd appreciate that.
Does it have to be the same recording over and over again?
No, however you decide to assemble it for me, it would still be the peak of my life.
Have you heard it in Filipino?
No. I would hope you'd be surprised that if I had. So that first side, you got to love a perfect album side. And to me, that is a note perfect album side. There's not a thing wrong with it, not a thing out of place. All right, so now we're on side 2. Side 2 starts with a really interesting song that is not only outside the typical purview of the association, but it's a little bit outside of Yester's comfort zone. Barefoot Gentleman is a fucking weird one. It took me a few listens to really get into this one because you have that Yester marshmallow thing that he does so well in the verses, but then the chorus, Ted is pounding those drum heads like they effed his wife. You know, it's a bit strange and out of character, super moody and intense, but an excellent outlier in your catalog.
That's the Skip Carmel song?
Exactly. That's a Errol Carmel song.
You guys don't like that one?
That is really an Errol Carmel song, his lyrics. That's what makes it so weird. You take those lyrics out, listen to the melody, and it's like, whoa, it's really cool.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a truly weird song. You know, what I pick up about the lyrics is that they're very written. They sound very written.
Exactly.
But it grew on me. That one, I kind of didn't get it first, but then it really grew on me. Then you guys are ransacking the Idrisi Brothers catalog again with Time for Living. And Deal Breaker. And strangely, and I learned this in my research, you're having an embarrassment of riches as far as your hits go in America. It's your only chart single in England.
God, I'll be damned.
How fucking weird is that? Of all the singles. I mean, look, I don't think it's a bad song.
We had no distribution in Europe. I'll tell you that story. That's where the association got hosed in ways that were totally out of our thing. And I think that Warner Brothers really proved the scrooge when they did that. Decca and Pi are the 2 European distribution companies for American records at that time. And Valiant was one and Warner Brothers was the other. And when Warner Brothers bought Valiant, we're told to get us. They didn't pick up the distribution. And so the international distribution was tied outside of Warner Brothers. And we only went to Europe once in our entire career.
Wow. Didn't know that. That's surprising.
We were dead in the water. We were a domestic act.
Well, there's also a situation. Their manager, Pat Colecchio, did not think Europe was a worthwhile venture for records. And he was not interested in releasing anything in Europe. So that was a very real aspect there.
Well, it's very strange that on an album that is just like tumbling over itself, tripping over its own laces with catchy songs, that this was the I understand Everything That Touches You is a single. That makes total sense. This to me doesn't sound like a single, or it doesn't sound like a second single. If I was your A&R guy, I would have had 3 songs before this one. Did you guys have any relationship with the Idrisi Brothers? Did you like them?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, God, no. They were beloved friends.
They were crazy as hell. Old showbiz. They're real old school showbiz. In fact, when we met them, we were living in Ardmore, a couple of us, that's where we rehearsed every day. And maybe it was Herb Hendler who put us together with them. Sent them over to our house during our rehearsal to meet us, right? We hear a knock on the door, and I think Russ opened the door. And here's the 2 Idrisi brothers sitting on the porch, one behind the other one, using a guitar and pretending they're a canoe and using a guitar to push themselves into the house. Nice. This is just, holy fuck, who are these people? They were really old school stuff, and it was really fun. Yeah, we still have a relationship with that's the one that's left, so.
Yeah. Is that Dick?
Yeah.
Okay. Here and Here is a rare Ted sighting. Luchel sings this one. It's a decent groover. I always prefer the tracks that represent the whole band and the lushness of, the full group. But it's a good song. And then The Time It Is Today. Now we're talking. Russ fucking kills it on that one. I love the spooky, eerie, floating quality of the track. It's so soft-spoken. And the one-note harmonies injecting some Eastern feeling into the tune. It's a really, really strong, adept mood setter. I love The Time It Is Today. You guys have any strong...
Yeah, I liked it too. I always did like this song.
For the past 40 years, Mike Stax's Ugly Things magazine has been bringing its readers in in-depth stories about the greatest overlooked music of the 1960s and beyond. It's actually the longest-running independent rock and roll fanzine in the world. Ugly Things is now also a podcast. The Music Machine, Moby Grape, Love, Clearlight, Gabor Szabo, The Trogs, John's Children, The Velvet Underground, and more, all illuminated by exclusive interviews, conversations, and musical highlights. Like Discograffiti, Ugly Things takes you deep into the music and the lives of the people who made it. Most podcasts are only skin deep. Ugly Things cuts to the bone. The Ugly Things Podcast. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. So Terry, I'm going to agree with you on this, but I was nervous to bring it up because the guy who I'm interviewing, I don't want to take any pot shots, but, very rarely do I not like a track you've written. And the Bus song, my write-up of this is exactly your thoughts about it. It's a standard for...
I hate it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I know what I was going for. The irony in the Bus song, maybe spiritually I was destined to write that. The hours come, don't go anywhere, they go nowhere. The world shrinks down to the kitchen and den, fleeting memories of what might have been. So little time left to prepare. Absolutely what my life is right now. Total description of what my life is right now.
Did you record that midsection live?
Yes.
Okay. So was that during a show where no one had any idea what you were doing and you just tossed?
Oh, no. That wasn't recorded live. No.
Oh, okay. I will say that a cappella midsection, I think it saves it from being like an actual bad song. Because
it would have been a song. I asked Bones to take the song out. When we first got to it, I said, it's not going anywhere. And he wanted to have the pause. He wanted to have the applause. He was looking for something Beatlish in it, and he was doing that on his own. He wasn't consulting me. The lyric, once I heard it, it's one of those things that you write a song, you write a poem, you have a picture, something like that, and you show it to someone else. And the second it's outside your ego boundary going to the other person, you see it in the way they would see it. And I thought, that's just really fucking sophomoric B- lyric, the way it came together. And me singing it solo was never my idea. And I asked him to take it out. I said, I'm embarrassed by that.
Well, I don't think it's a total loss, but it is the worst song on the record. I think the three
it's
of us...
the worst song ever written, Dave.
The worst song ever written is...
The worst song ever written. I'm saying it is.
Oh, you think...
Yeah.
No. You're being super hard on yourself. I'm telling you, just the Barbershop Quartet thing alone takes it out of the realm of being a bad song. Okay, then it ends with Birthday Morning. And I want to say, in a weird kind of way, even though you guys are all pitching in material on every record in my mind belongs to one of you guys. Okay, so in a certain way, to me, Terry, you own that first record. Renaissance, I think maybe because, Jules, you were about to leave, I always associate that with your record.
Yeah, I feel that. I kind of feel much into that record also.
And then this is Jim's.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's how I associate it anyway.
I can absolutely see that.
That pillow soft marshmallowy thing. I don't know Jim, but it seems like if it's not his personality, it's at least how he saw himself as wanting to be, maybe.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And don't interpret this wrong, but that's the way Jim presents himself. And it's a great deal him also. That is definitely on the money. You got it.
If it's not actually who he is, then it's maybe who he'd like to be or the optimal version.
That is him. That is really him.
His work on this record, I feel like he never got better than this. And he also talks in the liner notes. I don't know why Richie Unterberger only went to Jim for liner note stuff, but he was saying that the hangings that you guys were having for material selection were getting super intense at that time. But I don't want to dwell on it because right around the corner we get Jules back into things. So let me just give you my review. Hey, 8 classics out of 11 ain't bad. Not a bad song in the bunch. It's easily your most lushly produced record. It just drips with psychedelic sophistication. In addition, it seemed as if you were poised for unbelievably great things. You guys finally had an actual schedule in the studio. Instead of a day per song, you guys were taking up to 5 days to finish a track. And you can tell it was all time.
5 whole days. Wow.
Well, compared to what you'd been through. So that's what's strange for me, that from the next album onwards, you were kind of considered a finished concern in the public eye. So this album portends beginnings to me, sunrises, kittens, all good things, all great things. And really just thank you so much for this. This is a record I reach for on a consistent basis. I'll give it 5 stars.
Cool.
How about you guys?
I wasn't involved in it. I don't know.
Even better, you have Objective Remove.
Well, objective removed. Okay. Yeah, I kind of feel the way you do about the production, about the arranging, about the singing. I don't give it a 5-star, though. I'll give it a 4-star.
Okay. Terry, how about you?
I think it's already established. I would give it a 4-star. But that becomes so intra-personal.
Yeah.
My first primary thought about our work collectively, and I had made a covenant with myself to try not to personalize the work of other guys in the group, but to see that we're all on this team and we're going to be supportive of each other. And that's the very first time that I ever felt what I come to find out was Larry Ramos's heat about me.
How so?
Warner Brothers once again was looking for a single before we went out on the road. And Bones and Pat Colecchio had a private with me, and they said, here's what we want to do. We want to take everything that touches you and put it out there. And without hesitation, I said to them, if you present this to the group, they're going to reject the concept that it's one more Terry Kirkman song getting wielded out front. It's not my idea. I have nothing to do with this. You guys push that. I'm going to take heat for this song that I don't know. And I did turn that day forward.
That's interesting to me because the next song that we're dealing with is not only yet another Terry Kirkman.
It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
That's not the point of the story. I turned around and I thought, okay, Ryan, we were in rehearsal at a theater that is now a synagogue on Wilshire. Maybe you remember the name of it, near La Cienega. Pat came in and he brought it up to the group. That's where it was presented to the group. And Brian's response was, well, if you're just going to do music for the money, I lost, maybe I had never had it to begin with. I lost the support of the group that I had a covenant to give back to the group. And I was never the same after that.
And that was the turning. So before a 6-man band, it was the turning point for you.
Yeah.
Your turning point in terms of your relationship with the rest of the guys?
Psychologically, I use the term ambushed. I was accused of about 3 things with the association, and I never did. One, I did the very, very, very last thing. I lost track of $500 when I was the acting road manager with the group, but we were doing a lot of cocaine.
By 68, you were?
No, I'm talking 1984.
Okay.
I felt ambushed. I felt very sorry that I didn't take Dave Gebroe up on his offer, which never came back.
So you tried contacting him and he was no longer
No. We were still talking to each other. I'd sort of forgotten about it because I said no, but I realized the subject had never been breached again. He was extremely careful about his exposure in a lawsuit. There are all sorts of laws in show business that make it against the law to go cherry picking somebody out of another group.
Terry, knowing all this stuff makes it even more surprising that the next step was to write the band's own version of Creek Alley. That's how I see it. 6-man band is basically the association's Creek Alley, although I have no fucking clue what we got the 17 jewels that dictate the rules means.
It's a watch.
17 jewel watch.
Okay.
That's what it came from. Yeah, that was the height of watch to have a 17 jewel watch. Ooh.
That was the Gruen advertisement. The 17 Jewel Boulevard, the 17 Jewel Gruen.
Beyond the style of music, which we'll get to in a second, and the, what looks to me like a sort of put on odd discomfort with Larry Ramos playing those acid leads on the Ed Sullivan Show. He's trying to adopt a ferocious looking face when I don't know Larry, but it seems like it's a mile away from where he comes from. You know, the lyrics are pretty amazing. For a guy who is feeling at odds with his group, you know, I'm a day at a time, a seeker and a knower and a six-man mind are pretty connective lyrics. So was this like wishful thinking?
No.
They were true. Just simple truth.
Yeah. So talk to me about the full-on acid rock thing that you decided to do, because this is sounding like Hendrix, at least the lead line. And, you know, when people think association, they obviously do not think acid rock. Was it just a step in a different direction just to see?
I was once identified in Newsweek, Terry Kirkman, acid rock guitarist.
I was also given the title of the man who invented the electric guitar. I swear to God.
Nice. That's great. Just run with it. If it's
oh boy. I had to quash that one because, no.
Well, that's your next T-shirt.
Oh boy. See what I put up with for all of these years.
You're a glutton for punishment. So I got to say, it is a strange song. I love this song, but it's such odd bedfellows, you know, the harmony pop with the acid rock. And eventually, at the end of the day, I do have to say, I do love it. I give it 4.5 stars.
6 man?
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Not being a guitar player, not being a piano player, not being a notator, where I can think of and conceive of almost everything. And I could produce, I would like to believe, most everything. I would simply stick my little lead sheet into the association machine and the producer machine and see what popped out the other end. You know, thus the bus song.
So what do you give this one? Is this a 5-star for you?
I'd give... My thing, this wouldn't be a public concept. My thing is, did I get what I set out to do?
Did you?
That's my goal with any piece of art. So whether it's successful or not, if what I had in mind got actuated 90% of the way.
Did it?
Anything I do, then I'm happy with it. And the public, the audience, like when I was doing performance poetry, there were nights where I would go, oh, I'm sorry, were you reading something, Terry? You know, so I was okay with the song. So in that context, I would give it a strong 4.5 stars.
How about you, Jules?
Hey, it's got a nice beat and you can dance to it. It's a cool tune. I understand exactly what Terry's saying. You know, if you get what you started out to get, or you went along the path that you started and it ended up where you got to, and you liked it, you know, and it did do your job, that's what counts. As a song, it's a good rock song. There are many better songs. There are many worse songs, you know, in the great panoply of songs, you know. I don't know, shit.
Yeah, but this
on a scale of 1 to 10, I think you get a 4.
What do you give it then?
It's a good song. I don't rate it. I like it. I play it every night almost. So, you know, it's fun to play. It's kick. It's right in my range. I can sing it just right. So I would give that a 4.5 also for that. You know, I don't know what else to judge it on, you know.
So I have all kinds of questions about what happens next. The release of this song I see as the turning point of the association, as do most people, because any record company that puts out a greatest hits, they're telling you you're over. At that time, not necessarily now, but, you know, Pet Sounds came out, it fucking shot the bed, and so they put out Best of the Beach Boys, which is really insulting, especially if you're still in your creative stride, which you guys were.
That was Pat Colecchio's doing. Pat was simply looking for a hit. But he was trying to crank another hit out of it. So, like, he brought us back and re-recorded Enter the Young. He brought us back off the road in Florida, one of the longest trips you can take in the United States. Brought us back on an overnight to go into Studio 3 and sing Enter the Young again. And then we got back on a plane, way back on the thing. And he was looking to pull a hit off of the best of, and he didn't get it. We had enough material to warrant a best of at the time. So Pat was desperate to get a hit out of us, and he didn't get it. We were the last people on earth to know what was going to happen with the band. We never had a single meeting in Pat Colecchio's office or the Warner Brothers offices where we're sitting down and talking about direction. Nothing.
Okay, you must have been the guy who was getting phone calls from Jules saying, I think I'm interested in coming back. It must have been you.
Nope.
Was it Pat?
No. I walked into a rehearsal one day and said, okay, I've tried this thing. I'm just trying to build the association again. So what the fuck am I doing there? I says, I'd like to come back. And they said, okay, let's think about it. Come back in an hour or so. And that was it. I came back in an hour and they said, okay.
What made you think it's time to come back?
With the band I was in, Joshua Fox, I realized that's what I was trying to do after we had gotten a record contract with Tetragrammaton and we had recorded a few things. I said, what the fuck am I doing?
Did you succeed in Joshua Fox in rebuilding the association in your image?
No, I didn't. I couldn't. Because the association's the association. Boy, there are plenty of Mike Botts is in there, all these guys were in there that were really good, but it couldn't happen. It wouldn't work.
I mean, I don't know if you love the deliciousness of your timing.
It was just what I was doing. I didn't think a fucking thing about timing. It's okay, here.
What I'm referring to is the current single that you guys had out. It was literally the only one where the lyrics had to be changed as a result of you coming back in the band.
Yeah, that's right.
It's almost like you were fucking with Terry directly and you came back just because, well, he's got to change the lyrics if I come back. So
I didn't think about that until we started singing. I said, hey, what are we going to do here?
I sure thought it. I thought, fucking Jules. That's what I thought to myself.
But
that is funny.
Listen, what a warm welcome. I mean, the guys did change the lyrics for you. There's a world
they had no choice. What you could
they could have said, look, we don't know if this is going to work or if it's going to last.
Yeah, they knew it worked.
It's awesome. I love it.
I mean, it was they knew, and I knew, and there it was.
So how do you feel in retrospect? You come back in the band just in time, at least commercially, because I know you guys don't care as much about that, which is great because there's a lot of good stuff coming up here. But your commercial fortunes were about to take a precipitous dip. So looking back at that, is that a weirdness in timing or?
Well, you may be mistaken. What do you mean by they took a dip? We were on the road making as much or more money than we had ever made. So our recording took a dump.
Yeah, that's all I know.
But as far as the overall picture,
okay.
That kept on going.
Well, I mean, your live album is incredible. I'm not even one for live albums, really. So certainly not making any kind of statement on your viability. I'm sure in 2023, you're a great band to see live. I just mean from a band from the first second they were in existence, hit after hit after hit, and then you got to get used to the new.
You do the exact same thing. There's no difference. Whether you got to hear it or not, you're going to learn tunes, you're going to go on stage. It's the exact same thing, so that's what counts, that you do that well. Whether you get a hit or not is a whole different world. Being a performing band.
Contextualize, you're talking about the specificity of the band.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in context of the society and the market in which we're existing at that time.
Right. I'm mainly talking about the charts. I'm not talking about, obviously, as a viability for the group. You guys have been around, decades.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about that broad a sweep, like it or not, we were a part of creating a market. We didn't know it. We didn't define it. We were
didn't care about it.
A part of the evolution of American music.
Mm-hmm.
And we were drawing from influences everywhere in the world. You weren't allowed to do that before. It was forever before they had drums in country music. There were all sorts of musics that were rethinking what they were doing. We're not the only market in the United States, genre-wise, that was going through a whole lot of change. In the meantime, you're now pushing into 1968, which is one of the pivotal moments in all of modern history. All of modern history. Everything just got taken and turned upside down. Shit was happening in my life.
What was happening in your life?
In my private life. Let's just freeze right there. Shit was happening in everybody's private life because of what we were doing in the times that we were caught up in.
Mm-hmm.
Divorces were happening, whole shifts in living situations. I held two undercover, I assume Los Angeles police guys at bay with my shotgun hanging from the cliff off of my A-frame, telling them that I would kill them.
Wait, what? What
just
kind
that.
of was that?
Just that. And I screamed for Judy to call the cops. Barrel-bellied, just like out of Central Casting in Hollywood. Comes up from Hollywood Precinct in a car by himself. This old sergeant. He gets out, and the two guys are hanging on my cliff. I've got my Browning automatic like this. And I'm telling them, I'm scared to death. I don't know who I assume I know who you are, but I don't know who the fuck you are. And you are blatantly climbing a house on a Sunday night into my house. And the guy gets out of the car, looks at me and says, I'll take it from here. And I turned around and walked back in my house. I don't know about anybody else, but my life is changing drastically. Those were the times. Right at that time is where the divide, in particular, between me and Larry and Brian really took hold. That their outing of themselves as real conservatives. Russ was always anti-Semitic. Larry couldn't make up his mind which side of the racial barrel he wanted to be on. One day he'd be a Mexican, the next day he'd be a black guy, the next day he'd be a plantation owner.
You're nailing it, Terry. That's really true.
He's so desperately didn't want to be a little Filipino guy. That was true coming out of the Christy Minstrels. I can't think of his name right now. One of the lead singers of the Christy Minstrels at the time. He came up and he says, I hear the Filipino princess joined your group.
Jesus.
And I went, uh-oh. Larry was going on and on and on and on about black people, and he was just shy of saying the N-word. And we were on a bus, and I got up and I went back and said, I'm going to get you a fucking 5-gallon bucket of sand to carry around for you to stick your fucking head in every time you have one of those thoughts.
He was carrying his own.
Yeah. But it's that blatant. Well, at the same time, I want to write those other songs.
He's also pulling from definitely black waters with songs like It's Gotta Be Real. That's from a black well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, the funny thing, as time went on, Larry became more and more liberal as it went on, farther and farther and farther. And he finally saw what was going on, I think.
Well, that's probably after he accepted himself as a Hawaiian.
Yeah, maybe. This is just a little while before he died. Within the 2 years before he died, he had really turned the corner on that.
At what point do you become cognizant that Brian is really struggling?
Oh, God. That was just shortly after I met him.
Oh, so back in the mid-'60s? I didn't think heroin was really truly on the scene.
No, I don't think he was doing heroin back then. But that came later. That was, not long before he died, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. I was not involved in that, the heroin.
We were landing that night in Fargo, fucking North Dakota.
Not during the blizzard, but just before it. Yeah.
Just all you could see was horrific corrugated tin buildings in horrible, horrible weather. Mm-hmm. And we're circling. We're looking down at Fargo. And we were in the front of the plane, and I literally started to have a brain leak.
Not literally.
Literally. I'm about to have a psychotic break right there. And Brian was sitting behind me, and he leans over. I said something just really open and intimate to him, which was not the nature of our relationship. I said, I really can't fucking take it anymore. I mean, to the gist of that. And he had one of those last rites thing that priests carry, that this is the wafer, this is the this is the olive oil, this, that. And he opens it up, and it's made out of brass, and it has like a little stairway. And so there's a little tray here, and a tray there, and a tray there. And all I saw was white powder. And I said, cocaine? And I was not into cocaine at that time. I'd done it, welcomed it, but not into it. And he says, there is cocaine there. And I can't remember that I stuck my finger in or whether he did it for me, but I take a huge hit off of what's in his golden tray and sit back. And the next conscious moment, I'm trying to come down the stairs, the little stair ramp.
Oh, yeah, the outdoor ones. Yeah.
Outdoor in that weather. And I'm trying to come down. I could barely walk. And the next thing I know, I'm in this makeshift frontier kind of Alaskan passenger baggage area, and there were some guys from the Army, and they had really unusual patches, and I'm overlooking at the patches like this, going, wow, like that. And he had hit me with heroin.
Yeah.
I was on the plane when I knew that I'd been hit with something besides cocaine. And I said, you son of a bitch, over the back of my seat. And he leans over the thing and looks at me and goes, smack! And that was my introduction, as far as I knew, to imbibing heroin. I called cabs and booked my own flights to get out of town when heroin was on the table. Really didn't want to have that in my life.
Moving forward, I'm going to say...
That's a long story, Terry. Thank you for telling that story. Well, you're very welcome, Dave. You're the only one that knows that story.
Yeah, I feel sad for Brian. I really do, because at that time, as you're more well aware than myself, there was not really much help. I did a 3-episode thing on Sly and the Family Stone. He's one of my favorites of all time. You know, I feel just sad for the guy because, you know, nobody was... Is that a middle finger?
It is.
He was gone to see somebody. We got him to a therapist, and he was in therapy, but evidently he got a hot shot, and that's what did him in. He, was slowing down.
He was speedballing.
Yeah, speedballing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that gets up. He had all these people in his house at the time, a whole bunch of people living with him, 3 or 4 people. And he stood up, said, "I'm going to bed," and went to bed, and that was it. They found him dead. Mm-hmm. It's how David Crosby died. David Crosby says, "I'm going to go rest," and that was it.
Yeah.
He had just had major type B, type A hepatitis.
Yeah. I know you just gave me the finger here, but I'm not really sure what that was in reference to. But
Sly Stone.
Oh, okay. You don't like Sly? Looking back, there was no rehab culture yet.
Yeah, it really wasn't there.
And not only that, but in the late 60s, it was all about the bag you were in. And if you were messing with my bag, it means you were fucking uncool. So what that meant was, if you have an addictive personality, hello, Terry, then you were screwed. Because there was no one around who would really help you unless they were a really, really good friend.
Sly Stone was getting people killed.
Yeah, no, he was definitely lost in a way that not many people can connect.
Yeah.
People were collecting money to put a hit on him. He was a danger to everyone around him.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to show up in Chicago at the park, paid for by the city, to calm the city down. Let's just have a really great big Sly and the Stone festival right here in the middle of the city, and we'll pull all these people back together. And he fucking booked on the deal. He did not show up, and a riot started in which 3 kids died.
And they actually said that there could be no more shows at that. I think it was
There should be no more Sly Stone out there. It's like my rabid dog theory. I love the shit out of my dog, but if he's rabid going down the street, please kill him.
All right, we're going to proceed now. We're never going to
we'll just move right on after that subject matter. Right?
Good idea.
All right, so phase 2, or at least how I parse these things, coming into your own as the LP buying crowd leaves you all alone, 1969 to 1972. So the 7-man band, your first project was to contribute soundtrack work for the Philip Roth-based film Goodbye Columbus, which came out in 69. It hit number 99 on the charts. The record is, to be fair, it's mostly incidental music.
Yeah.
You really only have 3 songs on there, and all the stuff that's on there is of high quality. It must have been a rejuvenating thing for you guys, I'm thinking, because you were given creative constrictions that you had to work backwards from. You had like a week or 2. Mm-hmm. So you have Charles Fox, who actually wound up co-writing Killing Me Softly with his song in 73, and I Got a Name for Jim Croce. But at this point, he's just doing way overly ornate movie music. But the tracks that were wholly the work of you guys were produced by John Boylan, who had only recently started working with you guys and was just starting to get his feet wet in production. And I know you love this guy, right?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And you like the work that he did on the music, right?
Very much.
Okay. So the title track reaches number 80 on Billboard in early 69. And here's like another step in what I view anyway as the self-effacement of identity to achieve that group blend is starting to go away, at least from the outside looking in, because the lead vocal on each of the 4 association songs is performed by the song's writer. Right, except for the instrumental version of Goodbye Columbus, which has the whole group on lead. The first off is Goodbye Columbus, Yester's song, another Yester classic. What do you guys think about this record?
It's pretty good, but it beat out Terry and mine and Reed Martinson's song.
But you got that on the self-titled one, Goodbye Forever, right?
What happened was it got rejected, and it was Goodbye Columbus, right? And that was a lyric in the song, and we all liked the song. You know, it was a cool song, even though it got beat out. So rest your gear. used to, when he would leave someplace, he'd say goodbye forever. And everybody goes, oh, don't, you know. And so we thought that was a pretty good change. So we changed it to goodbye forever.
That's awesome.
That was it.
You know, Goodbye Columbus, first thing I think of when I hear this song is you guys are still sounding amazing. The lushness that I'd become used to, which you could say, like, for better or worse or whatever, is just gone. Was it a conscious decision?
No conscious decision. It's just, here's the parts, sing them. You may be discussing recording technique, because there was a particular technique that got that lushness, even with the same parts. If you had somebody just singing those same parts, it would not be lush. And that was one of Bones's tricks. Terry mentioned this earlier. He would take the bottom voices, have them sing the tenor parts. The tenor parts, have them sing the bottom parts, and the middle parts like that. And then you put that back about that far in the mix, okay? And it just makes a sound that is wow. But we didn't do that on this one. That was the thing we didn't do.
I like that you guys are always exploring new ways of working.
Yeah, me too.
Because if the end result is always kind of a disappointment because something is over and you got to move on, at the very least, you can be a process fiend.
Oh, yeah.
So then I love It's Gotta Be Real. I love both versions. I love this one and the one that comes later, especially after the story with the bucket of sand. It's amazing that this is a guy who's capable of creating sly funk that is deep, deep in the pocket, especially with this racial outlook. It seems strange.
I tell you, he worked a lot with Bob Alcivar, wonderful arranger. I don't know how much was his and how much was Alcivar's. My thought, and I might be wrong, is Larry would come up with the idea, and Alcivar would do a lot of sculpting with that idea.
I think Alcivar would do almost all of it. And Tony, the other guy, we were never, ever really sure what Tony's role was in the song.
Yeah, really. I never knew either.
Tony played a major role in those songs.
Really?
And I'm going to think that he played a major role lyrically. But you very much hear all sorts of influence. Their little publishing entity was called Sumex.
Yeah, Sumex. Yeah.
They all had Latin names. Larry wanted to be a Mexican in that context.
Now, your contribution to this is really interesting.
That deal of his songs, we were never allowed to look in the closet.
Yeah, that's really true.
They would come as a done deal, and here, do you like that?
Your track here is super interesting. First of all, you want to look at it in context. You had just done Six-Man Band. So you're the guy who had invented the acid rock guitar, right? And then you come out with what has to be your slowest, goopiest song yet. And not only that, but it's basically a progressive suite. It starts off with banjo, and then there's this harmony-laden shuffle. It blossoms into Care of Ted's awesome backbeat. And then that drops you into a really energetic and completely unexpected middle eight. And that gorgeous round that rolls into the fade. I think it's your only suite that I can suss. I mean, it's a multi-parted thing, and at 4 minutes and 4 seconds, that's like a 15-minute song in association time. So it feels long, but in a good way, in an exploratory way. So besides the instrumental version of Goodbye Columbus with the ba-ba-bas, that's pretty much it on the record. So my overview of the thing is, I don't care that the movie kind of sucks. And I also don't care about all the bullshit incidental music because I've only heard that bullshit once. The association songs on this record, to me, are timeless. And they've all been airlifted onto my treasured playlist. So you guys, to me, you feel in between here. By the next record, you feel like a completely different band, but it's only on this record. This record feels like a bridge where you've got ties to the old association, except with the varnish all stripped off, but you're not quite at the new place yet. So it's an interesting stepping stone for you guys. I give it 4.25 stars.
You waiting for a response?
Very silently. We're not rating Charles Fox's music. We're only rating the 4 tracks you guys put in.
Well, I had a couple of good stories about the album.
No, tell me. If I'm moving too fast, I can slow down.
We took off out of Chattanooga. Jules'
right.
hometown. We took off out of Chattanooga at dawn and flew to New York. Checked into the Warwick on an overnighter, in and out, and were swept away, really exhausted, to this screening room in like whoever the studio was that released Goodbye Columbus. We're swept away into this very modern screening room, and they play us like a first draft assemblage of what the movie would be like. And so we see the movie with no sweetening, no nothing.
No music, just all dialogue.
In New York, right?
Right. And the director, he gets up and tries to explain the movie to us. And the producer, Beverly Hills, New York, really wealthy in the business, Jewish go away. Everybody's a Jew in this movie. Everyone, right?
Yeah.
The producer's name? Jaffe. Jaffe gets up. He walks up and says, "Don't listen to him. What this movie about is fucking and money. That's it. Fucking and money." Jules and I take a little THC. He comes to my house and he sits down in my living room. Rita is there. We're stoned, and Jules starts singing one of his incredible lyrics, the Goodbye Forever lyric.
Yeah.
The genuine blue booby walked in on his knees. And so we demoed that song. We sent it to them. And they come back and they say, "We know what walks in on his knees means." We know what that means. We can't have that in our movie. The movie's about fucking the money, but we can't have that in our movie. It would have been so much hipper for them to have that theme song.
Yeah.
So much hipper.
At least you got to release it. I mean, at least it saw the light of day. John wound up actually staying on board for your next album, which was the self-titled one, which came out the month Woodstock went down. And now, if you disregard Goodbye Columbus, it's been a solid year and a half since Birthday, which back then in the music industry was like 10 fucking years. Mm-hmm. Now it's just a sane amount of time, or even a short amount of time. But back then it was like, oh, I remember those guys, which is nuts. Okay, so this one I'm really looking forward to talking with you guys about.
Fast assertion. The name of the group did not always successfully in the public eye move from airplay consumer to album consumer to that. So people could not remember that Along Comes Mary and Cherish were sung by the same group.
Right.
They did not make that connection. Or that then those guys recorded that, then they recorded that. We had really shitty branding.
Well, also, to be fair, let's just say I wasn't even a fan of you guys. If
fuck you.
Let's say
no, just fuck you. You know, just turn the fucking thing off. What's this, to set up you ambushing us?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm excited to talk about this with you.
I wasn't a fan of us.
Look, if I wasn't a fan, let's say, forget about fan. Let's say I didn't know anything about you guys. And I'm looking at this album cover, which portends, because of the spaciness of it, it portends acid rock to me. But then when I put it on, I'm hearing really the sort of seminal workings of an early iteration of country rock. Okay, which has nothing to do with an outer space cover. So it's a little bit confusing to try to assume that people know where you're coming from or even know who you are, when really, to be fair, it sounds like you're attempting to get far away from what people expect from you. No?
What album are you talking about?
The self-titled.
Talking about Stonehenge.
Stonehenge. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's also known as the Stonehenge album, but it's self-titled. And this is not a failure of a record. It got to number 32.
It's good.
There's no hit singles. Nothing's breaking the top 100, but the album sold.
Let me say something here. We're not following any trend.
No.
So when you say it sounds like acid, it didn't to us. It just sounds like what we're doing. I'm not thinking acid rock, blues. It does not enter into the mix. Okay.
It's simply what the song lends itself to, whoever helps us arrange it.
Bang, that's it. Yeah. So we don't think that way, or we didn't think that way. Larry Ramos thought that way, but that's another story. Right. That's really it. It's hard to really answer you, because that ain't happening. You're trying to put it contextually, but that context does not fit at all with us.
Okay.
We weren't even thinking about that.
How do you guys look back on this record? It's such an interesting record in your history. It's like all of a sudden I'm getting a sense of how each of the band members is writing, because up until now it really felt like a group, and now it feels like a bunch of writers under one roof.
Yeah, that's a good, nice way to look at it. Yeah, that really sounds like it, because we were all out into our own separate lives then,
right?
And we were not living as a okay, let's go down and let's be a group. Our own lives were becoming important.
Jules, when I hear your work over the the course of the next few records, I don't have to look at a track list. I don't have to look at credits. The jazzy soft pop thing that you were doing at that time had nothing to do with what the other guys were exploring. And I think it works to the record's credit that that's happening. And I wish there was more of that type of material from you during this time. I'm sure with Bijou there was. It feels like you were really inspired by that sound. That sort of mysterious minor key jazzy.
Yeah.
Pop.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the last studio LP featuring Russ. He was on live, but that's pretty much it. All right, let's drop the needle on this thing. So Look at Me, Look at You. We got a real strong Terry song here. So Where Have I Gone? Where Have I Gone? Are you talking about your relation to the band? Lyrically, where were you coming from specifically on this track, Terry?
Globally? It's my favorite lyric that I ever wrote.
Wow. That is a good lyric too, man.
Woo. I like the song, period. I like that it starts off real dry, production's dry. I'm guessing Dillard on banjo, right?
Yeah, that was Doug. Yeah.
I demoed the song with Rodney and Doug Dillard, and if I used drums, it was Jim Keltner. Mm-hmm. And I did it, you know who Alex Hasselhoff is?
No.
Really dark, handsome, master's degree PhD guy in the Limelight. And he has a studio right in West Hollywood, right where you drop down whatever the street is to go to La Cienega from right where Tower Records was. And it was like the evolution of a poem, kind of the way it came together instrumentally. And we're in a very small space. And Doug and Rodney's approach to it was just soft and easy. And at the time, I wasn't sure about the group. Maurice, who later was the drummer in the association, he'd always yell at me when I would see him. He said, that song should have been, well, it's a hard way down. I raised my hand and really just make it this rockin' thing. And I suspect in 2020 hindsight, I think about it a lot. I actually think about that all these decades later.
Just that one song or others that you had on the record?
Well, I have never, ever, except for...
Keep talking. I'm just getting something. Keep going. I'm listening.
I used to be able to hold an audience, Jules. I could hook an audience and reel them in and talk to them. This guy jumps up in the middle of my sentences and runs away.
I don't think that's about you. That's not about you, Terry.
No, come on. I had to walk away and masturbate.
Yeah. What is it? It's time. I'll be right back.
I'm on a schedule here.
Don't walk away, Dave Gebroe. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. I learned to play ukulele about 8 years ago. I taught myself how to play uk in almost all the songs I wanted to play. And there's some things that I don't know how to do those chords, but enough that I could do things. Well, I have never, in the whole 40 years that I've been outside the group, I have never accepted a musician's party where the bunch of guys started to play it. I have never sung Cherish in front of anybody.
Really?
I've never sung Never My Love. I've never sung any of those songs with which I am attached, except new songs that I was writing when I lived in Pasadena. And I was doing them in little open mics. And I was playing my little ukulele. And I had this wonderful guy, Dwayne Thorne, who had been a light man at the Ice House and Bob Staines' little backstage theater. And I started singing songs. And the only song of the period that I learned to play was Look at Me, Look at You. And we never, ever, 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 ever performed that song on stage.
Good tune.
It was like one of those, well, my paranoid projection at the time was, well, there goes fucking Kirkman again with his protest shit. Thank you very much. And it was never ever brought up again. And I went way, way passive aggressive. And that's when I get in trouble.
I like this tune. This is an interesting way to kick off the record. When you look at a song like Come On In, it feels like it was written as an opener.
Yeah, exactly.
This feels like it was sequenced first. So it doesn't come off like it was written as an opener, but it's an interesting and sly way into the record.
Boy, that would be an interesting opener on a show, by the way.
See, Terry, he's trying to seduce you back in the group. Fucking Revenge for 1968. All right, so track 2 is a mystery to me because it's the single, Yes, I Will, yet it was written by John Boylan when you obviously have capable guys in the band. As far as I think, it's the worst song on the record. It just is a strange one to me. It's like fuzz guitar gospel. Not really sure what he or you guys were going for here, but it was a number 120 single. I don't think John did a great job on it, frankly.
It's not a great song, but it was fun to play, fun to sing. But songs are like that, though. You know, they can be fun to sing, fun to play, everything, and they don't do beans, you know, so.
Love Affair is your first song on an association record since Renaissance, right?
Probably.
Love Affair, solid song.
Thanks.
The only thing I feel like Yester's lead vocal is recorded a little too dryly, but the fuzz guitar / flute solo to the fade, really cool touch. And I really like the strain of work that you were doing through this time. Obviously, when you came back, you had a whole different set of influences.
Either that or I just evolved, you know, and I tend to think that I just evolved because the influences were all the same. I like the same music I liked back then, I like now, or, you know, at this point, you know, so it would just evolve, an evolution.
Yeah.
That's really what I think it is.
One of my favorite songs.
Is it?
One of my favorites. I loved everything about it.
Cool.
I was in acting class with Peggy Fury from Actors Studio, and you find a little one act or you find a really choice scene out of a play and you work on it, and the focus was so even. Everything in the song, the beginning of the song carried through to the end of the song. And rather than have big moments in the song, it was a continuation of, for me, really romantically appealing soft moments.
Yeah.
That went, boom,
wow,
boom, boom, like that. And it inspired me. And it's how I had come to think of the association that if we were going to make a contribution to the evolution of Western music, that the thing that really set us apart from almost anybody else was these songs that had different movements in them. I didn't want to be constrained by the 2-minute, 15-second, 2 verses, little refrain.
Music, yeah.
A 4-bar, 8-bar bridge, and then get the fuck out with a repeat, maybe a 16-bar little solo. That's what the market wants. It wants that flavor. Until your ear got adjusted thanks to the phenomena of FM radio. And your ear started to get adjusted that you didn't need to move on. We're geared to expect a commercial. Like in cable television right now. My wife produced commercials and I used to write copy for commercials. You get really conscious about what commercials are and what their job is. Your 1-hour show is actually 42 minutes. A football game is actually 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We're geared towards these breaks. The stuff that Jules and Jim were doing was a huge inspiration to me. I was fucking around with multi-movement things like Parallel 23, Requiem for the Masses. There was an attempt at that in the profoundly failed Bus Song. I didn't want to be contained by the rigors of straight-up rule-building jingleism.
Right.
And then trying to get yourself out of the habit of writing jingles. There's a whole other thing. Well, I get here, where would I go from here and go over there? Coming out of Stonehenge, I wish that we could have dialed it back 4 years. I wish we could have connected Stonehenge to Renaissance.
I wish you guys had more albums than you.
Oh, we do. We're working on one right now.
Are you really?
Yes, we are.
That's fucking great news. Seriously. Because
I didn't know whether to tell you about that or not. Or Terry and I and Jim are talking about tunes.
That's the best thing I've heard in a long time. I mean, because you guys aren't the Monkees, but this is the first thing that came to mind was, I know Peter Tork bought himself out of his contract for $150,000. They wanted the thing over so bad, and then they never really had a comeback that allowed them to have artistic integrity, and then Good Times came out.
We're working on stuff. The background right here, this is my studio. I've been studying engineering, of all things. I got a clue now about how to actually make those sounds. So
I would be so excited for that, man.
Well, be excited because it's happening. It is happening.
Terry, are you involved with that?
Your bicentennial. No.
Yeah,
Who's involved?
me, Terry, and Jim right now.
Okay.
Yeah, picking tunes. I mean, we don't know. I'm the executive producer of the album. Pretty sure I'll probably produce a tune or two, but there's so many good producers and arrangers, and Jesus Christ. I'd like to get a hold of Alcivar if he's still working and have him work on something.
Alcivar's in his 90s.
Yeah, I know.
In his 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
I emailed Bob trying to get an arrangement to a song that he did that I heard when I was in junior college. I heard his act.
Bob Alcivar, yeah, okay.
His very first approach to music was to form a group called the Accidentals. And they performed at Chaffey College.
Oh, wow.
So
Did you see them?
I had no idea, but they had a version of June is Busting Out All Over that
Jesus.
Blew my mind. So I wanted to get that arrangement for the choir that I used to sing in the Angel City Chorale, which was on America.
Are you guys redoing anything that you felt didn't hit?
Oh, yeah. There's going to be a look back section. When I say we're doing an album, that term is actually outmoded, because we'll probably do 20 tunes and we'll do vinyl, which will have 12 tunes on it because that's all you can put on it, or 15 or whatever. And then a CD just for fun, and then download. So, yeah.
I'm psyched, man. I hope whatever it is that you have planned, it is the opposite of the split K-Tel thing you did with the Turtles in the 80s, and it's just suffused with artistic integrity.
Oh, it's us. It's us.
Good.
This is essence of us. Like Terry and I had a discussion about this just not long ago. We're swapping ideas, and I was saying what we got to do is what we do when we first came out. We did the best art we could do, and that's what we're going to do,
right?
And fuck everything else. It's got to be, that's it.
And I'm excited to talk about the shift from you guys creating new original works of art to what happened in, 72, 73 and henceforth, because it's a big shift, but we're not quite there yet. So the next track, The Nest.
Now that is one of my absolute favorites.
So that's your favorite Skip Carmel song, I guess.
Well, I don't know. He worked some stuff with me too. I like to, but I just love the production. I love the arrangement. The lyrics are kind of weird. Really? The nest. Oh, let it rain on the nest. When it rains, we've been blessed. And kept from dying.
I love that the verses are these dark, brooding minor things. Yeah. Sung by Brian, right?
Yeah.
And then Right Into the Sunshine with Ted Score.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
That's one of my favorite songs that the band ever did.
And very psychedelic. Mm-hmm. And then What Were the Words, which is a Yester thing. Mm-hmm. The guy's got a voice like the desert breeze, so this one's perfect for him.
It's funny you should say that, because when he got out of the Army, he lived out in a little desert town where his mom and dad had a bar. And that's about all there was in the town, between a couple of gas stations and a little grocery store. He ran the bar and he played there all the time. So you're right that you hear the desert in his voice because it's there.
That's funny. Wow, yeah, you really do hear it. We used to go there all the time when we were out there.
Really? Where'd you go? Did you go to the science fiction get together there?
No, my wife is close friends with a woman who has a house out there.
Oh, there's a UFO convention out there that I went to one time.
Oh, you're big on have you been to Rachel, Nevada?
No.
Oh, you'd love it, man. It's this little enclave. It's hard to really call it a town.
Okay.
Out in the middle of nowhere on extraterrestrial highway.
I'll be darned.
And it's just the only business.
Continue that story. I have an emergency.
Okay.
No, I just have to run to the restaurant.
I'm really insulted that you won't do your business in front of us. So there's a little trailer that is set up like a bar with a bunch of other trailers, and it's called the Little Alien. And it's awesome. The only people that you have in that town are UFO obsessive and stealth bomber pilots.
Oh, God.
Testing out there. So,
all right.
It's a wacky clientele that lives out there.
What's the name of that? I want to write that down.
The town is called Rachel, Nevada. I'm not a Vegas fan. There's nothing for me there. But this place, it is just wild, man.
Wow. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
Still to this day, I've traveled cross country, I believe 7 times. And it's the most interesting place I've seen in the country.
I'll be darned. darn. I did that before I was 15, actually. What happened is I grew up in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
My mom, who was divorced when I was about 3, I guess, met this guy who was from California in Chattanooga, who was a teacher, history teacher in Chino, where Terry grew up.
Oh, wow.
They got on well, and they got married and moved back. And so what I would do in the summer times, I was like 13, I guess. I moved to California with him, of course. And then I'd come back to Tennessee for the summer, and we did that 3-4 times in a row, as I was growing older. I went across country on a bus, on a Greyhound bus, man. Got to know the country pretty good.
The very first time I ever was in LA was the first time that I drove cross country. I had taken LSD in in the Grand Canyon. And
oh, geez, really?
I'm the one who drove for whatever reason.
How did you do that?
I have no idea. It's not a drug that...
Yeah, I know well.
A bunch of people I know are okay with driving on acid. That was never something I was comfortable with. But I remember it was 3 a.m, just driving down the road, not just peaking on acid, but smoking bowl after bowl.
Yeah.
There it is, this glittering oasis. Not a gambler, not really a drinker.
I remember going into Las Vegas. I know exactly what you're talking about. There's the desert, and all of a sudden these sparkly lights.
Yeah, I would not do it any other way.
Oh, no.
How long have you been working on the new record?
Jesus, on and off for the past 6 months. Just thinking about it, considering it. From the concept.
What's the concept?
Do another fucking record. Do another record.
I thought you meant it was a rock opera or something.
No. It's like people have said it.
Was it your idea, Terry's?
We'd all talked about it on and off, and I came up with a business concept for the record, okay? Business plan to put it together. The way the band works now, Russell owns the band, okay? He is the single guy who actually owns the band. The rest of us, we're hired guns. Although we're a part of it, we know what it is,
How did that work out like that?
Well, it worked out a lot of different ways. Number one, I'll tell you my story, and it's about everybody else's story. When Larry was getting sick, he was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And I was working, I'm a tech guy, okay, working computers. I was working at this company that I'd worked at for 16 years, and I was ready to retire, and I was just about to do it. And Russ called me up, and he said, look, Russ, we had friends, we talk. And he said, Larry can't go on the road all the time. And when he can't go on the road, because he was on dialysis also, he said, would you consider coming out and standing in for him? He called up my wife first, wisely, and said, would you mind if he went on the road? And she said, it's okay. So he called me up and said, can you do this, stand in for him when it's okay? I said, let me think about it. And I looked at my vacation time, which I didn't take much because I really liked my job, but I had the exact amount of off time in my bank to do for a whole year that the band said, okay, here's is it perfect? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I did that for a year. Okay. Started standing in when Larry couldn't make it. And at the end of the year, Larry's getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And they said, look, man, can you come back into the band? That's what Russ said. And B, Larry's not going to be able to do it. And I thought about it. The timing was just perfect because of a lot of things. But I said, yeah, I'll do that. Because I was ready to retire from this company I was working for. And bingo, I retired, went back in the band.
Wow, that really...
Yeah, it was just something, man.
I think the question that probably comes up the most for me when I think the whole story through, and I have a lot of notes. I mean, I'd been working on just putting my notes together for a long time before you and I even spoke for the first time.
All right. And
I think for me, it was, here's a guy who, at least from the outside looking in, seems like a born searcher, a born quester. The surface level is not enough. I want to get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, absolutely.
That seemed to be at least a guiding force in having you leave the band. To go from that guy to then decades of no creativity, it's now a business, it's a nostalgia thing, but way more than a lot of other groups. Even the Monkees were doing albums of original material through these nostalgia cash grabs.
Yeah.
The guy who I'm talking to here, how did that sit with you? Because you're a guy who's
what sit with me?
You're a guy who's always pushing forward creatively, always, looking for the prismatic perspective.
Okay. I think I see what you're saying here.
Go from that to a split K-Tel album of all covers of your old stuff.
I really didn't care that much about it, one way or the other. I think we only did one or two of those kinds of albums, so that really didn't mean much to me, you know.
Like from 75 maybe onwards?
Actually, I left the band completely gone in mid-70s. And from then on, you know, I was on my own, and I had a technical background. When I was in the Navy and stuff, I worked on real high-tech shit, you know, and so I could get a job, bang, like that, you know, and I worked in high-tech companies for a while doing mechanical stuff. But I also got into computers in 83 when they were just starting. I got into them pretty hard. So when I finally quit, I saw an ad in the paper for people wanted people with computer knowledge to come work at this company. And I said, okay, I'll go. And they hired me, bang, like that. Once I got in that was it. Also, when I moved to Texas, I had started a band, sort of, you know, and the band really couldn't do what I wanted it to do. And I said, okay, I can't really do musically what I want to do here in Texas. So that's it. I'm done with music. That was it. So I was done with music. I didn't even own it. I think I had a guitar. And then I chopped my thumb off.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I was building a boat. I love sailing. And I was working on a table saw. And bap, pulled my hand into it. And that sort of sealed it for me. I said, okay, I'm really not going to play guitar, right? So I forgot about guitar playing altogether. So I had been involved in computers, and that's what I went to work for in this one company. And I worked there for 16 years, and I ended up being the lead data analyst in one of their things, you know. And then I told you about what happened with Russ and so forth, calling me up, got back in the band, and I thought, oh, shit, I'm going to have to play guitar. And so I wasn't even thinking about it. Went to this Guitar Center.
Oh, that's your chording hand, right?
Yeah, that's my chording hand. And I picked up a guitar and started playing and went, holy shit, this works. I hadn't played guitar for years, you know.
Jerry Garcia, same thing.
And it worked. So that's how I said, okay, I'll do this. And then I got back in the band at that point. Larry was going less and less, and he couldn't go out on the road anymore. So that's what happened.
How far into the completion of the new record would you say you are, percentage?
Oh, hardly at all. Technically, I'm working on the very first tune, and I'm getting ready to send the parts to the guys because we live all over the country. We live in 5 separate states, and they'll record their part, send it back to me. I'll put it together. Once we get a bunch of the album done or the whole thing done that way, then we'll all get together so we can sing it also. You know, I mean, you know, that's the trick. But I've got to get the money for that and do all of that sort of stuff, you know.
Have you thought about Kickstarter?
That's exactly what we're going to do.
Anything that I can do to help you guys?
Oh, thank you. We'll keep in contact, and I'll let you know when anything serious happens.
Go for it, Jay. Go for it.
Yeah. No, you go for it. What the hell are you talking about?
Go for it. Get in there.
Terry, your last published song was in 72, wasn't it? Or was it more recent than that? Cowboys and Indians was either 71, 72, and then, unless I'm overlooking something, I think that was it from you, right? I was born in 1972, so I'd like to think it had something to do with my...
with your entrance into this universe.
Yeah.
I stepped out of the studio on Cahuenga, and I went, there's a boy being born. Wait. I'm going to go and search. And here I am.
And here we are, finally, all these years later.
Finally found you. 51 years later, I find you. I want, if you would, amuse me and think about the lyric to Come the Fall.
Listen, let's not talk about Come the Fall yet, because that's coming up. That's around the bend. Let's stick with stay on the self-titled record.
I have a story about that when we get to it, okay?
What Were the Words is the next tune. That's a Jim Yester one. Solid song. I don't think there's anything earth-shaking about it, but it's good. He actually wrote it for the Dillards. And then Are You Ready? The Larry Ramos.
Cool tune. Fun to play, man. Kick-ass song.
And again, a total tilt towards R&B. So as far as that stick your hand in this bucket of sand thing, you know, he's certainly, for a guy who maybe didn't love black people, he sure loved black music. Yeah, this has got like a really kicking day tripper-like swinging guitar figure that guides it forward, and terrific lead vocal. I really do love him as a singer. He's
excellent.
Very pro. Did he ever think about doing anything separate from the band or no?
Oh, he did. He did a band with his brother and another guy, home Homegrown was the name of it.
Okay. Did you release anything?
No, I don't think so. It was just a band to play. You know, they did a lot of gigs. I know.
They played the beaches.
Yeah.
He lived in San Juan Capistrano, and he played the beach bars down there.
Okay. And then Jules owns the middle of this record. 3 songs in a row. We got Dubuque Blues, Under Branches, and I Am Up for Europe. And I got to say, these are some weird songs.
Dubuque Blues ain't weird. That's just pretty straight.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And here's why. Here's one lyric. It's the chorus lyric. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, right.
For whatever reason, the strangeness of that.
I see what you're saying.
So thoroughly not rhyming. It is an earworm like crazy.
Yeah.
I always get your voice in my head going, have you ever heard of that? I love how the song ends with the vocals guiding the come down.
Yeah, to a C, to that F, I guess that's a C major 7.
Under Branches, that sounds really sad to me.
It is.
You know what it sounds like? Because there's sectional stuff going on. So it feels like some of the sections in it sound like prog rock as deconstructed by a depressed ex-Harmony man.
Huh.
What was going on at that time? That was
Errol, Carmel, and myself.
Right.
And boy, I tell you, it was ridiculously difficult working with Errol. After working with him for a couple of tunes, I could no longer do it. Because he would deconstruct these things down to the lyric, down to a period. You know, that was not my way. A lot of that was Errol's influence.
I Am Up for Europe. Is that the only time you ever wrote with Brian?
Yeah. Sadly enough, because I thought Brian was such a talent that got so fucked up in drugs and stuff.
Talk to me about what you were going for with I Am Up for Europe.
Well, actually, I was trying to support Brian. I was trying to make his songs musical. He started talking about this I Am Up for Europe. And I said, let me mess with that a little bit. And I put some different chord changes. He didn't even have any chord changes, actually. That was it.
And then Broccoli. Broccoli's fucking weird, man.
I love it.
What I love really about this record is it sounds like you guys don't give a fuck. This is the one for you, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
One for you. Broccoli certainly underscores that. You know, Russ coming off like a total freak. I had my 4-year-old in the car the other day and I was playing this and instant singing along with it. Instant.
I love his lyrics. I like to eat it with my mouth. It tastes so good. I said, what the fuck? You can eat it with your asshole?
Makes a great suppository, too.
When Bush vomited from eating broccoli, University of Santa Cruz, where my daughter and my wife and 40 other people I know went to UC Santa Cruz, they put broccoli up on the school system through all of the college.
Nice. I like this better than Dana Carvey's chopping broccoli thing he did on SNL. This, to me, is the ultimate musical broccoli song.
Well, he did that, and then the Beach Boys did Vegetables, Vegetables.
Yes. Yeah, so that's on Smile.
Yeah, right. I love that too.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. And you know who plays percussion by chewing on a carrot in that song? Is Paul McCartney.
Oh, God.
And Paul McCartney chewing percussively on a carrot during that song.
Oh, God.
That's a bizarre stretch of the album. I feel like,
oh, boy,
Goodbye Forever, it comes out of that strangeness.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite song on the record.
Really?
I really like Goodbye Forever. I think it could have been a big hit.
Yeah, could have.
What's your thoughts on Boy on the Mountain, Terry? And the reason why I'm asking you specifically about that one is because this is a long, long way from the guy who gave us Cherish. At the end, the guitar actually sounds like Brian May.
That's Jules.
It's Jules? You sound like, you know, the twin guitar leads that Brian May would...
That's 3. I did 3 parts on it. If you listen to it closely, you can hear the triad.
It's awesome. You are definitely far from sticking in your prescribed lane. I mean, you're really exploring as a songwriter here.
Hello, Moto.
Yeah, sweetie.
I'm checking up on you.
We're still talking. I'm right in the middle of answering a question.
Okay.
I love you. You okay out there?
Yeah, I'm coming home from the market.
Eggs and milk.
Eggs and milk. Want eggs and milk. You need anything, Dave?
I do. Coffee enema. I've been really interested in getting a coffee enema.
Oh, God.
Wow. Sorry we asked.
That's a pick me up for people with their heads up their ass. I like that. Yes.
Jesus Christ.
In all seriousness, if I was there, I would bring you dinner or whatever meal it is out there at the moment. So this is a very interesting album to me for the following reason. It feels like you have arrived at a place where you've earned or just obtained your musical freedom, but you guys don't sound joyous about it. The vibe of the record feels like you're carrying a big weight. Like
Exhausted.
Exhausted, yeah. So, you know, it's interesting for that reason. It's got its own character, I think, for that reason. It's chock full of good tunes, but that thing about, you know, we're finally here, but we can't enjoy ourselves really stamps a lot of the record. And I think although each of you does have a moment in the sun here, and there are parts that salvage it for me, ultimately, large parts of it sound kind of disjointed to me. Like maybe you guys didn't want to be there, which I'm sure, you know, you guys are having real lives now. You had a year and a half off. I'm sure you discovered some things, people, hobbies that were more preferable than slogging it out yet again. Another thing that's interesting to me is that all your older records, especially Birthday, were super airy and just had so much space. And these mixes, and this could be the intended effect because it suits the subject matter for most of the songs. These mixes make me feel claustrophobic. Whether or not that was intended, it feels appropriate. You know, again, it's that thing of the cover. You know, imagine you make a country rock album and decide to market it with an outer space Stonehenge that makes it look like you actually made outer space acid rock. So it's coming from a totally unique place in the Association discography. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars.
You would give what 2.5 stars?
The full record.
The Stonehenge album.
Yes, sir.
Produced by John Boylan.
Correct. And you guys, right?
Yeah, there was always a right-left hand, John and us.
Right.
Interestingly, over the years, all the way back to that really, really deep association wesite that guy put together, Dave Momberg, I think. I mean, it had everything. It had shit I didn't know existed. Bootleg tapes. If you wanted to know anything about yourself, go in there and try to ask the right question. It was like Google for the association. But the albums that remained the most favorite of the online site were Birthday and Stonehenge. Occasionally you'll get people really love the live album.
I love the live album.
Recorded in a city a mile high, we would start off singing in key and then everything would just go slightly flat, running out of oxygen. It was a poorly cast...
Well, hold on. We're going to get to that. And I don't even usually cover live albums, but this one's worth talking about. What do you give Stonehenge?
I would give it 3.5 stars, maybe 4. Artistically...
Are you giving it 3.5 or 4?
Well, don't push me. Nobody cares.
I care very, very much.
But you're asking me right now, and I've never pondered the question before. So I don't know. I liked it a lot. In hindsight, I liked it a lot. I didn't feel overproduced. It was the first time in which I felt when I entered the studio that there was room for all of us.
Right.
I didn't feel that when I walked into Studio 3 with Bones Howe.
That was Boylan.
Remember who Boylan had been producing? He had been producing country rock.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was his whole thing. Not the most truckable guy in the world. We find out in 2020 hindsight.
Is this the record where you left the studio and you said, finally, a record that sounds like who we really are?
Probably.
It's amazing to me and endlessly fascinating. An artist's view of their own work versus the public's perception is just completely disparate sometimes.
Well, when you're 51 years old and you're coming back to an album that's 51 years old, your context is entirely different. I financed a successful antique place. Razzmatazz. It was Sid's shop, and it was 2 doors from the Troubadour.
2 doors, I remember it.
You know, we had buyers like Barbara Streisand who would send her guy in and they'd just back a fucking truck up. But she'd never see it or go into her warehouse. But learning to look at something in the context in which it was manifested. When we talk about the difference of albums, you're not talking about something that's put into a production company and then a design team comes along and designs something. And then it's handled and manufactured. And the machines run the same way all the time. And you have 75,000 meters and gauges to tell you down to the RCH where you're at. That's not what an album is, and that's certainly not what an association album was. It depended on what you just fucking ate. It depended on how much sleep you'd had the night before. It had depended on how many weeks you'd been on tour. It depends on the post-tour flu, which you always got 4 days after you came off a tour. The post-production, everything. It's a show business disease. People have it in regular business. You finish a film and then the entire crew and cast is sick the following week. Let me tell you exactly how this goes. Larry Ramos sent Helen out for lunch one day. Helen goes out and she comes back with sushi. I had never had sushi. I lived in Hawaii. I never had sushi. I didn't know sushi in Hawaii at all. It was kind of a new thing in California. Brings in a huge tray of sushi. And so we all have sushi for lunch and we proceed to sing afterwards. Well, we didn't have to wait for the food to digest. It was like we had taken pure energy food. I had raw fish and I had rice. And you sang, and it was like the difference between booze. If I drink the whiskey, my nose goes down like this. If I drink tequila, my nose goes up this way, okay? And sushi is exactly the same. You eat it, and your energy goes up. If she brought back hamburgers, we would have been sitting around belching and waiting to digest the grease and all those. Our energy just went boop, like this, and I turned around and said, oh, I think we found our lunch. and I think about it all the time. If I think, oh, fuck, I'm really hungry and I've got to go do such and such and such and such. I used to do it when I was working in recovery and I had to do groups and I was responsible for the well-being of 8 to 35 people at any given time.
You're talking about doing H&I?
Pardon?
Hospitals and institutions?
Yes, that was my profession for 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
But you were asking me how I felt about the album. Terry had mentioned this. We really had a chance to become involved in it very much, because I guess that's what Boylan had been doing with his country acts. Mm-hmm. They had a similar deal. And on that level, I would give it a 4.5 or 4.75. Okay. And that's what I think about it. Has nothing to do with its success, its failure. It's set in the big scheme of things.
My ratings have nothing to do with that. It's based only on my view of the aesthetic merit.
Yeah. And the aesthetic merit kind of, be damned, actually. I mean, that's the way I look at it. On that album, we really were able to get in there and handle stuff. So
yeah, that's cool. And then, Terry, you're going with 3.5 or 4?
Whatever.
Okay.
Quote me as whatever, please.
And I'm going with 3.75 because you're not giving me a straight answer on this one.
Okay.
All right. So then...
We also had Richard Thompson around the studio at that time.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Co-wrote Boy on the Mountain with Richard Thompson.
We wrote a bunch of stuff together.
This is obviously a different Richard Thompson than the Fairport Convention guy.
Oh, yeah.
When he was very first asked to come in and hang around with us. We're in the studio that we did a instrumental group, brass and reeds, that are trying to nail a jingle. Jingle people, they ran a studio for 15 minutes. Here it is. It's written, sight read it. We're in. You got that? Got that? Okay. Any problem? No problem. We're out of here. So we're waiting for them to do. And there's something about the voicing in a particular chord that the arranger, conductor, producer of it can't get. Richard, showing up for our studio, sitting in the studio, reading a newspaper, and having a cup of coffee. Well, that's going on inside the studio. I'm sitting back doing whatever I do. And Richard gets up and he turns the mic on and he says, the second trumpet, your second valve, pull that out about 1/8 of an inch. Pull the little slide on your second valve in the second trumpet player in a band. That's the note you're not getting. And they play it, and the conductor turns around and he looks at the booth, and I'm looking up, and whoever the guy was conducting and writing the jingle says, who the fuck are you that you could possibly hear that? How could you hear that? Well, I've seen about 6 other people who could do that. But he was a total musician genius.
Yep.
All right. So,
okay, what next?
We finally are in 1970. Interestingly, you guys pair back up with the dreaded nemesis Kurt Becher for Just About the Same, which was a single that the Millennium did. I'm very familiar with their version. For the longest time, I didn't even know that you guys had recorded it, but you reteamed with them in late 69 for a total one-off, released in February 70, Just About the Same, backed with Look at Me, Look at You, which failed, unfortunately, because the song is fucking great. It's a great song, period. And your version of it is terrific. You know, your version always slayed me. In my opinion, you guys are like working at your strengths, but it must have been tough to go back and work with him. Didn't you end things on not such a great way last time?
It's like, we got a song, come on, let's go do it. I think we did it at Village Recorders, and we did it at night, and it was like a slam into a studio, period part, sing it, and I felt like I was a hooker being shown into a room and asked to give somebody a particular kind of blowjob.
Well, you give good head.
Oh, it's okay.
We're recording. Come on.
Okay, it was wonderful.
What I'm saying is, you know, I'm being facile, but I'm being honest too, where if you guys were tasked with a song to order, like you were with Goodbye Columbus, you were being a hooker, you guys still do great work. You give good head, and it's okay. I'll give that 4.5 stars. I love the song.
Just about the same?
Yep.
Holy shit.
What do you give it, 2? 1?
I've never liked it because it doesn't go anywhere. The gag is established in the first 12 bars, the big chord and then the big chord and the big goes nowhere.
What do you give it?
I give it a 2.5.
Okay.
Well recorded.
You're talking to a Kurt Betcher fanatic.
Has nothing to do with Kurt Betcher.
Well, it does.
I'm sorry that the current group uses it as an important... The audience likes it. The current group that I've gone to see you guys sing maybe the 4 or 5 times, and it's got a big spot in the show, and I don't like the song. It doesn't go anywhere.
Jules, what do you think? What do you give it, man?
I don't like the song very much. I don't like what it says. It's bullshit.
You give it 1?
If that much.
Wow. Okay, then we have the live record. So you're giving it a 0.5 star. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. I just don't like that tune.
People would probably think that you guys are a singles band, that why would I want an Association live album? And especially, why would I want a double one? But you guys, kept on keeping on as a popular live draw. And this is from a Salt Lake City performance from April 3rd, 1970, recorded live at the University of Utah. And it is spirited. I mean, not just the performances of the songs, but just down to your between song banter. It's funny, it's engaged, you guys sound present. Yester feels that you can really hear the battle that's going on between the two lead guitars. They're trying to top each other all the time, and some things I wish one of them would have just comped. Jules, do you feel like that's an accurate assessment?
I haven't listened to it in a long time, so I really can't tell you, but that was a one take. That was one take. You know, that was at the time remote recording was just almost nothing. And Wally Hyder had a remote truck and he took it up there, very expensive, and recorded the thing. You know, I think we went in the studio and cleaned a few things up, not very much.
I went so flat on Requiem on my flugelhorn that it wouldn't fly. So we had to figure a way to fix it. And Richard was just getting involved with the band there, and we turned the end of Requiem flugelhorn into a 2-part deal where he would play an answering thing to my thing. That's the only way we could fix it and keep it in the thing.
Do you know why Last Flower was removed from the track list?
Yes.
Yeah, they wouldn't give us, there was no rights. There's no rights
permission
to touch anything by...
Okay. I believe that song is the only thing I haven't heard from you guys. So Dream Girl was recorded in Russ's bathroom after the show. Did he already know he was leaving?
Oh, who
Where'd
knows?
you get Russ's bathroom?
It was the bathroom at the dressing room. You know, there was one dressing room, and that was it.
By the way, I give live 4.25 stars.
Thank you.
I think it's awesome.
I think so too.
What do you guys give this?
Oh, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that was a real good deal there. Good recording. Really, really nice, high quality recording.
I have that on vinyl. What do you guys give this one?
The live album, 4.5. I'll go with that.
How about you?
I'm fine.
No. What star rating do you give it?
I just did. I said
4.5.
What you guys are going with?
Oh, 5? You said 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So approximately 2 months after the show, in June 1970, Russ left the band. He released a solo record, Hexagram 16, the following year, and then Richard Thompson came into the band. So was it an acrimonious split with Russ?
No.
No? He just wanted to do something else. It was just take care?
I really don't know why he left.
It was time.
It was just time.
He really saw himself as the lead singer as a solo star.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his bent. And if that was his receiving,
Yeah.
then when else were you going to try to pull that off?
I mean, his album is so lackluster. It really is. You know, the mind blower of all time for me?
I've never listened to the album.
There's only one song that I would recommend listening to. But, you know, the fact that that's the only album, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the only album by a member of the association where it was a solo record, somebody attempting to do that. I know, Jules, that you were looking into other projects, but nothing ever under the name Jules Alexander. So the thing that blows my mind is it's amazing to me that a group that was founded on anonymity to a certain extent
absolutely
did not feature more men looking to establish their personal musical identities as they matured.
I think that was very much an artifact of Pat Colecchio. He looked at us as a football team. Okay. So you're a member of the team. Yeah, you can make a home run, but you're a member of the team. He never did that to anybody in the band. Wanted to keep it a team. You know, if Brian had been used in that situation, he would be a big star nowadays. But that's really where that came from.
Pat Colecchio worked us in that context. One of my failings psychologically is that I am really gullible. For someone who I'd really like to think that I'm pretty fucking woke.
I know you just posted about that on Facebook.
Yeah, but I walk in and I don't want to think that you're fucking me over.
Right.
Because we're having a nice conversation. I just had dinner with you. You want to be the godfather of my child like that. I really trust that you're managing all of us and that you're prepared to do it and that we're not just a meal ticket to you. And Carol Thompson and my ex-wife sat down and told me that he had a filing cabinet. This is recent. This is the last few years of 50 of them, that he had a filing cabinet of fairly rave reviews for me about how talented I was the impetus of David Gebroe coming after me. Mm-hmm. There was a law firm, show business management law firm, that came to my house once again, walking that narrow line so they couldn't get popped. You know, it was really serious breach. You're right on the line of major lawsuit. Who came in and said essentially what you were saying about the association, that we think that you're not being handled right. Each one of you, I hear all these different voices. The guy really knew what he was talking about. And his wife, and I'm sorry I can't remember who it was. I remember his last name was Cooper. His wife was a big old friend fan of ours. And people aching to get at the band and take us away. And Pat had just worked us down and worked us down. That's all he knew to do. The guy was selling shoes. My sister-in-law suggested him. My sister-in-law knew Pat Colecchio from Baltimore. Pat Colecchio and Larry Ramos were both my choice, both something that I sold to the group, and I am so fucking sorry that I did it. And there's nothing wrong with either of them unto themselves. Not bad guys, just wrong for us.
Is that an opinion held by everyone in the group as well?
I would hope so. We were an on-the-job training thing for Pat Colecchio. We were a little clinic. He didn't know shit about the music business.
That's really true.
Nothing.
Jules, do you feel that way, that Pat was not a good
Dean Fredericks didn't know anything about the music business. Nobody knew about the music business. And we were afraid to have a real honest-to-God manager.
Yeah, I felt pretty much the same. I mean, that was obvious, you know. He great guy, and he really knew how to handle a team. He was better than what we had before in many ways. But, whoo, man, no, we didn't even realize that. We had no idea, you know.
And I felt so sorry for them. I was embarrassed about the Larry Ramos thing. There's nothing wrong with Larry. There's certainly nothing wrong with his chops, but he's not the guy that I wanted to go to the prom with.
Right.
Pat Colecchio, he just lucked out. David Geffen came in and saved his ass.
I truly wish, through all this chaos and exhaustion, through being put through the paces like you were, that you guys, you two and Yester especially, that you had come out with something that could have shown what it was like just in your own corner. Because Russ, to see what he did, number one, I feel like he squandered the opportunity because he was set up with the greatest fucking people in LA. I mean, he had Keltner and Russ Kunkel, Bernie Ledden, Judy Sill, Bobby Womack, Buddy Emmons, Spooner Oldham, Mary Clayton, Judy Henske.
And Jules Alexander.
Oh, yeah.
I played on some of that shit.
Yeah, not only did you play on it, but you contributed Pegasus.
Yeah, I wrote it too.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I'm just adding myself in there.
And then he comes with 2 songs. He's written 2. Neither of them are good. As far as I'm concerned, it's funny he saw himself as the lead vocalist because he sings in this paranoid, accusatory way that's very unique, but is not a superstar kind of a voice.
Are you critiquing Russ now?
Yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable with that in the context of what we're talking about. I don't know anything about Pegasus. I don't know anything about that album.
No, I see what you're saying. This is not about him. It's about the association. It's not applicable as far as star ratings go. But one song I do want to point out that I think is wonderful is his reading of Judy Sill's Range Rider.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you. They were great friends.
It's tragic what happened with her.
Oh, God, yeah.
Before we depart for bloodier, sweatier, and tearier waters, we have to mention Jules's Ride of the Valkyries Indebted, an incredibly dramatic, thundercrack and string-laden concerto. It's pretty nuts. Terry, if you haven't heard Pegasus for a while, it's a really interesting piece of work from Jules.
You should listen to that too, Terry, because it is good. It's really pretty crazy.
It closes the whole thing. It's the last song on the record.
Yeah.
The next thing we're going to hit is Cowboys and Indians.
One of my favorite things I ever did in my whole life.
One of my favorite things you've done too, and I didn't know about it until you pointed it out to me when we initially spoke.
Dick called me up and said, I have a completely recorded Blood, Sweat, and Tears track, completely produced. I wrote the lyrics. I don't like the lyrics. I said, well, what do you ask for? He says, I want you to write lyrics. I said, don't tell me what the lyrics are. He says, no. I don't want you to even think about the lyrics are. So I got a completely produced Blood, Sweat, and Tears track with the melody line played, I think, on a piano. And I was completely locked in. I could not move sideways, up and down, nothing.
It was done.
Right? Exactly to this in a song that does not go in the direction that a song usually goes in.
Yeah.
And Mike Bloomfield plays harmonica solo.
That's him?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like that. And on the very first listening to the instrumental track, I hear that say the word cowboy. And Dick's kind of thing has a lope to it. And I thought that's so obvious I'm going to stay away. So I wrote a lyric that I don't remember, but I vaguely remember that it was about a guy who tries to go home after he becomes a star and people aren't receiving him as he is. He can't go home again. Thomas Wolfe. And then I sat back and I said, I really don't like that. I went for the cowboy thing. And it just flowed. And I was so excited when I got done. And I sang along to it, and I do a pretty good David Clayton Thomas. You know, big baritone thing. But I have in the lyric, winning battles was my manifestin', as in motherfucking. Winning lyrics, fighting, winning battles was my manifestin' destiny.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he didn't do it. Winning battles was my manifest destiny. Other than that, I met the group backstage in Chicago, I believe, and just one of the happier moments in my whole creative life where everybody in the band came up and said, thank you so much. God, what a great lyric. Sammy Davis Jr. sang the song. Didn't record it, but he sang it. And Rod McCune, I am told, sang the song.
I'll be darned.
I don't know what they did with the instrumental part.
Look, you and Dick had either just left, I'm not sure about the timing, or were about to depart your dearly beloved children, not to mention your cash cows. So was Cowboys and Indians a response to that or nothing to do with it?
Nothing to do with it.
Okay. When was the last time you spoke with Dick?
He moved to Italy. He died last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm alluding to. I don't know if you got to speak to him before he parted.
I spoke to him once. I was driving back from Palm Springs. I was doing an educational group in Palm Springs. I was driving back and I thought, he's probably right there on top of that mountain of San Jacinto. And he would be up there in Idlewild during the summer. And I called him up and he answered. He was confused why I was trying to call him. And I just said, I just really love you and wanted to reconnect with you. He had moved to Italy. He became a jazz star. I mean, a real jazz star. Big theater concerts, not club work.
This is an incredibly meaningful piece of work to you, isn't it?
He hated Hollywood, and he hated what Hollywood did to him. I hated Hollywood, and I hated what show business did to me. I mean, I loathed it. That was a big part of my first 10, 15 years in AA. People couldn't stand hear me get up and speak at a meeting and say, I fucking hate showbiz, and everybody in the room was show business.
Did you ever try to record this with the band?
Oh, God, no.
No, I didn't think so. I got to say, I loved Al Cooper, the first Blood, Sweat, and Tears record. I always detested David Clayton Thomas. I hate his voice. I hate it. I love this song. So you pulled some kind of crazy magic trick.
David's nickname in the group was David Clayton Asshole.
That's true.
And he was emotionally about 13. He'd walk up to a spread of food before a concert and just dump it. He had like a 5-octave range.
I hate his voice. I hate it.
Okay, I'll tell you a David Clayton Thomas story. Out in front of the Troubadour one evening, I had a friend, this woman and I were hanging out together. She's gorgeous. I mean, drop dead beauty. I was riding a chopper at the time. I had motorcycles, and we were fixing to go somewhere. We had been to the Troubadour or something, and she had this tight top on. And so I was out there with my bike, and David Clayton Thomas comes up and starts hitting on her. I mean, seriously, right? And I can't get my bike started. Kicked a couple, 3, 4 times. Finally, said, come on, let's go, and she comes over to me, gets on the back. I kick the bike over and it starts, but it puts out a cloud of smoke as big as the front of the Troubadour right into David Clayton Thomas's face. And I thought, yeah, I felt good about that. Oh, did I feel good about that?
What's a weird thing with those guys is that they came out of the counterculture because of Al Cooper. But then when Al left, there was intimations of countercultural heft to them, but they were pure showbiz.
Oh, yeah. Horns in Chicago.
Yeah. Same thing with Chicago. They came out of a countercultural thing. Then Terry Kath passes away, and it becomes...
Well, there's a whole story about that. Clive Davis came down to his A&R thing, and the best thing that he had going that particular year was Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And he came down to George Brewer and the A&R thing in New York and said, give me another Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And they went out and they found the Chicago Transit Authority.
Which that first record is stunning.
Well, Richard Thompson and I were actually in George Brewer's office when we discussed how their recorded version of the first record could be, I think it was Saturday in the Park.
Yeah.
What was the first record?
First record had Beginnings, 25 or 6 to 4.
Yeah, that one. That was the big hit.
We actually helped discussing the editing of their recorded version. So
that's a band that could use an editor. At the beginning, they only made double, triple, or quadruple records. That's it.
I have to go, but I have a fast story for you. We were in Chicago, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears was in Chicago, and we were hanging out. We were all in the Hyatt Water Tower, and we were talking afterwards, and I said, what would really be a great idea? I say to Dick and a couple of other guys, I say, how would it be if the association and Blood, Sweat, and Tears were to make a joint album? So we'd have this orchestra and we'd have all these voices and we could think of songs to do. It doesn't have to be ours. We could do other people's covers. Just think about that. It goes off, and then I get a call. It's from Dick, and it says, it seems that Bobby Columbia loved the idea of us with you so much that he went to the Beach Boys.
Oh, shit.
And he pulled them into the thing that the Beach Boys and the association and Blood, Sweat, and Tears, because the Beach Boys were really in fucking trouble at the time.
Yeah.
They were disappearing, and Brian had a huge brain leak, and it wasn't happening. So he pitches the Beach Boys, and I get a call from probably Clive Davis himself saying, can you join us at the Beverly Hills Hotel in one of the cabanas and let's discuss this idea of yours? Now, all of a sudden, my idea is now under the domain of fucking Clive Davis, right? So I meet in there, and there's Mike Love, and Bobby Columbia was fronting for Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and I was fronting for the association. I had included Pat. I had actually mentioned this to everybody in the band, and it was like a wait-and-see thing. So there was an agreement that we were going to do it. And the guy that had all the paperwork, that had the biggest investment, was going to be Clive Davis. So he had to clear this up and clear that out and do this. And he was going to cut the deal with Capitol so that the Beach Boys could do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we actually have a date in which we're all going to leave. And Blood, Sweat, and Tears is on the road. And they're the ones that have the biggest logistical problem. And they're going to be in Vegas. And so the Beach Boys and us were, if I remember correctly, we had a chartered plane and we had videographers. We had PR people.
Is it 71?
This is right about there, yeah. And so we're going to go, because I was living in Coldwater County, so we're going to go to Vegas and meet them. And I got a call the night before we're supposed to go. And so Dick Hallam said, Bobby Columbi's just dumped something on the band and everybody went crazy. Clayton Thomas is threatening to leave the act. So David, this whole time that all this shit is going on, he has never once mentioned Clive Davis or Beverly Hills Hotel or chartering of aircraft or hotel rooms or nothing to anybody. And that's it. I went nuts. I went fucking nuts. I thought, I don't know that I can still be Dick's friend or not. Anyway, months go by and I walk into the Troubadour and I don't know who was performing there, but I walk up the back stairs into the balcony of the Troubadour and there's Bobby Columbi with a woman. And out of my head, I just topped the stairs and I said, hey, Bobby. And then a double take and I go, Bobby! Like that, you know? And he ran from the building, ran down the front of the stairs and out into Santa Monica Boulevard. And Jimmy Fielder, the bass player for BS&T, he comes walking out the front and says, hey, Terry, how you doing? And I just turn around. He says, you sure scared the shit out of Bobby Columbi. And I turned around and I said, give Bobby a message for me, that whether he knows it or not, that I saved his life. And Fielder says, really? How did you do that? I said, I left. Nice. He's done really well. He married really rich. There's the Bobby Columbi Foundation. What an asshole.
Well, I will say that song, I agree with you 100%. I think it's a really special piece of work. I gave it 5 stars, and I believe that was the last thing he did before 1971's Stop Your Motor. And thus, I've given us a transition into the next part.
Send me more information about the album.
Which album? Russ's?
The one with Jim and me.
I could not hear what you were saying, Terry.
The one that you're making with Jim and me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Get me in the loop.
Send me more information, too.
Oh, God.
You know what's fun before I...
Okay, I'll do that.
I gotta say, this has officially lapsed over into the longest interview I've done. And I gotta say, I'm gonna really miss you guys when this is done.
Oh, yeah, this is fun. This is some good shit, man.
Terry's gonna be relieved, but I've been having a great time.
Well, actually not.
This is good.
I'm a talk therapist. My wife is a talk therapist. I am talk recovered for 38 years.
Not quite.
We're getting a chance here to talk about things that are wonderful to talk about.
Yeah. This is good.
This is like a great reunion.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times a year I just think, God, I wish I could call that guy, that woman, that group and say, what the fuck happened there? What was that about?
All right, that about does it. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful wife and son, Jen and Mason, Terry Kirkman, Jules Alexander, and Ruth Ann Friedman, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator, and much more. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, I get it. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into the magical sounds of creamy 1960s gold is to visit episode 1 of this series, episode 109, Vashti Bunyan, episodes 103 and 104, Burt Summer, 83 and 84, David Crosby, 77 and 78, The Zombies with Lou Barlow, numbers 59 and 60. The Monkees, episodes 22 and 23. And part 1 of the Bee Gees, when they were all treacly and hadn't yet found out that they were disco kings and that the universe preferred their chests bare. That's episode number 10. I want to also say that for the first time in the show's history, since Patreon began, we are not doing Monday and Wednesday shows. And the reason for that is these episodes for the association are very long. They run from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. Some of our shows are 30, 40 minutes. Initially, what I was planning on doing was cutting out all the many digressions and doing a big Patreon thing of, all the, not outtakes, but stuff that didn't wind up in the episode. And then I just decided at a certain point that the whole idea of this series was its length, was its marathon type of feel to it. So I made it as close to a marathon as possible and then just decided no alternate shows, no nothing. This is the thing, and believe me, you'll be getting your listening value out of this series. However, do make sure that you visit patreon.com/discograffiti and check out the thematically related deep dive as a music obsessive's way of life. Our Patreon's been up and running for a year, and with 2 episodes a week, there are close to 100 Patreon episodes at this point. That's an entire universe available to you for the price of a cup of coffee a week. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, September 22nd, we're coming at you with the last part of this series, The Association Part 4. The next installment is another epic compendium of moments that cannot be missed. Trust me, missing it would be foolish. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti.